Hello guys, NautoAce here, and I want to give my thoughts on which I prefer, physical release or digital release. So basically this one actually surprisingly it's a long time coming. The reason it is always a lot of been, this one the biggest topic in video game is, do you prefer physical release or digital release? Mickey's X1 already talked about it all most of the time in his video, in his channel, and also in the backlog battle. So might as well give my thoughts also. And do I prefer physical or digital? Well, as a person who grew up in the 80s, who grew up playing Nintendo, you might say, yeah, I do prefer physical more than digital. But believe it or not, when the PS3 came during the HD era, PS3, Xbox 360, I basically mostly prefer most physical rather than digital. And the reason for that behind it was because it just like I guess it's like the nostalgic behind it. Like, ah, man, couldn't just go to digital. But after a while, it doesn't really matter at this point on which is what I prefer. I still prefer a bit more physical than digital, but I'm also okay with digital. However, there are some point when I really prefer physical than digital, and I'll explain that later. So again, are there any basically pros and cons about digital versus physical? Well, yeah. I mean, everybody knows this. For physical, a lot of the pros is you have that nostalgia collection, you have that physical collection, and that you have. Two, since sometimes you sell it by through third parties such as Amazon, Target, Walmart, or sort of retailer. Excuse me. They, of course, have this game will go to clearance. So again, every consumer like to buy something out of nothing, aka cheap prices. So that's another advantage. Third main one is, especially when console now rely on hard drive rather than a memory card, space. Especially if you don't have a big hard drive space in your console, in the 7th gen or the 8th gen, then yeah, physical probably going to be your advantage. Especially when you're having a hard time downloading digital games. So there you go. So that's the pro about it. The pro. The con is space. Especially if you live in a small apartment and it gets cluttered up. Yeah, that is something that's a problem. Two, a lot of times you can't find the game you want. Especially if the game is so niche, you can only buy it in a certain place. That's also a problem. That's the con about it. And third one, push cut to shove, is when you're trying to buy it used, sometimes you have to gamble. Will it work? Will it not work? Like in my case, I bought a used copy of Lego City. That didn't work. Thank goodness Nintendo decided to do a Nintendo Select. Awesome, been playing it. So that's the pros and cons for physical. Digital, process, space safe. So you don't need space. It's on your hard drive. There you go. Second, conveniency. You don't have to look for the game. Oh, it's right there. The game is right there. I have no problem with it. Third is, it probably gonna run better than a physical. Like, what do you mean? Well, if your disk is sort of dirty or the landscape with your disk, yeah, that's a problem. With digital, of course, it's reading from a hard drive. It's better than reading on a disk. There you go. That's the pro. The con about digital is storage space in your memory card or hard drive. Yes, if you have a low hard drive, such as, like, say, case in point, PS4 with a 500 gig, yeah, you're gonna be really, really frustrated. And I'm already in a point that I had to remove some games just to play my new game, and I can't even play some of my game. I would like to play most of them. I can't. I gotta do the iPhone thing, remove some to put new some. That was one of the biggest one. Second is, games itself does not go down in price, unlike clearance. Like, gotta wait for a flash sale. And a lot of time, and I don't really believe this, is that they do tend to sell digital equal to physical, and their most reason is, oh, it devalues the game, which I think is bull crap. So that's another problem, is the lack of clearance. And basically the last one here is, it probably the same goes with physical, not reading a disc. If your hard drive is it's sort of corrupt, then yeah, you're gonna have a problem with it. Yeah. So there you go. That's the disadvantage of digital. All right, I kind of forgot to mention it on my main video on physical versus digital. There's one important thing that sometimes digital it has more advantage than physical, and that is availability of the game. Availability of the game. Say you want an old game, you never had a chance to buy it. An example right now on the top of my head I can think of is Kirby Triple Deluxe. As of right now, if you're trying to find it at retail, of course it's not. You can't find it new because it's an old game. They stopped producing them. You might get it used, but of course if you're in GameStop, you know the story. They do hike up the price because hey, the rules of used games are different than new retail game. So the price could be like even beyond the MSRP. Same goes with Amazon. I've been checking Amazon a while. Amazon, and yeah, a lot of the games were like the lowest one you can probably get it was $41.99 plus shipping and handling, and the game is $39.99. So that's a downside with physical. If the game stop being produced as a physical release, and you're trying to buy it used, the price now might be low. It might be the opposite because it's rare. You really can't do that with digital since there is no physical matter in it. So the advantage with the digital is, hey, I can buy it digitally, I can play it. And again, if I run out of space, well, I'm just gonna do the iTunes method. So I mean, that's I think one of the great ones. Like I said, triple deluxe, digitally right now, you can still right now is $34.99. Buy it physically, it's way too expensive. I mean, the switch to that is if the game's available in a lower price physically, then the digital kind of sucks. Now it's like it's more expensive. But if the game is so old that you can't find it, it's rare, then digitally probably your best bet. So there you go. So yeah, I think I missed that on my main video, and I think this is one of the most important part, with the biggest advantage with digital than physical. So yeah, so there you go. That's my opinion on physical versus digital. Once again, thanks for. So in the end of the day, it's basically your preference. Which do you prefer, physical or digital? Like I said, both of them have pros and cons. Just me personally, like I said before, I just prefer physical more than digital. Excuse me, because I guess it's just the way I grew up with video games, always buying a cartridge, and then a PlayStation 1 disc, PlayStation 2 disc, so that's why. But still, if the digital one is cheaper, then I got no problem with it. I just have to stick with the iPhone method, unless I buy a bigger hard drive. But, however, there is one thing that I'm always going to go physical versus digital on this particular, well, it's not a console, but on the portable. And that is the PlayStation Vita. I basically talked about this before, but I'm going to talk about it again. Is why would Sony do something backwards attaching the save file to a game? So if you don't know what it is on the PSP, technically, they kind of follow the PS3 infrastructure. And there's like a game, and then there's a save file. But when it came to the Vita, when you buy something digital and say, "Oh, great, I can't put it. I need to remove some games. It's taking up space because I have a 16 gig memory proprietary memory card, and I can't afford another one because they're very expensive. Screw you, Sony." So you see, I want to remove some gigs. I have not been playing this game for a while, but when you remove that particular digital game, you also remove the file, kind of like a mobile phone. I sort of get it with mobile phone and why they're doing that. It's because the way it's set up. But really, in the Vita, you will go backwards, where the PSP basically it's a save file. In the Vita, you went backwards and you attached it to the game, treating it like a mobile. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, heck, I was watching this but special IGN where Ryan McCaffrey was interviewing what's his name? Shoot, Jack Tretton. There you go, former president of Sony, and he basically even said that the PSP it's a good was an advanced machine, portable machine. I can agree. The only reason why it didn't sell the DS, well, one, game. Second, it was a little bit expensive. And three, proprietary memory card. So, again, rather than using an SD card, they rather use this memory duo that now failed. So, again, and if you wonder why they keep doing it with the portable, and the reason is they said security reason. So, I'm sorry, I think it's a great reason. So, and because one is it has a save file and the game. The Vita, they didn't. If you have it physical, then yeah, that's fine. I have no problem with it. But digitally, I'm like, oh crap. What if I need space? I can't play because games are big and I don't have a big memory card space. Yeah, it's gonna be a problem. That's the only time that I'm having a gripe with Sony was the Vita when you download digitally on the Vita because you erase the game, you also erase the file. They say there's some ways to do it, but it's not really officially. It's ridiculous. I mean, you can also back it up on a PC or your PS3, but then that takes up space also, so it's a lose-lose situation. I mean, I still hope that they do an update and do something, but you know what? Unfortunately, Sony abandoned the Vita. And remember, Andrew House basically said the Vita is considered a legacy console now outside of Japan. In Japan, I think in its on last leg, but in America, yeah, they're done. You don't see Vitas anymore to some extent in retail store. Only GameStop or Amazon, I think you have a chance of buying it. Yeah, Walmart, Target, even Best Buy have said they are stopped carrying Vita. Say instead, exchange off the VR. That's what I meant. Sorry, don't apologize. So yeah, that's my thoughts on physical versus digital. In the end of the day, it's really just your preference. There you go. Thanks for listening.